We are now live, everyone.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Judy Peterson, and I serve as the Public Information Officer for the Fairfax County Park Authority. Tonight, we're going to continue our public process and discussion on the draft dog park study. The Park Authority initiated an in-depth study of dog parks in Fairfax County in 2019. The purpose of the study was to assess needs and priorities for dog parks throughout the county and to adopt strategies for long-term planning, development, and management of dog parks. The study was conducted by a team consisting of subject matter experts from across the agency. Tonight, we're going to hear from Park Authority staff members who led the project team and present the study findings. Most importantly, we'll be asking for your ideas and concerns and the vision of the future. So let me begin by introducing a few of our guests this evening. Stephanie Leadham, Director of Park Planning and Development, is with us. Also from planning, we have Anna Bentley, Adam Wynn, Melissa Cameron. The dog park study team consisted of a stalwart team of experts from all corners of the agency, and we really appreciate their hard work, and they are listed in the actual document. Tonight, we have a slew of talent ready to answer questions, and they include from park operations both Julie Tahan and Jeff Winkle, Roberta Longworth, Director of the Park Foundation, and Marketing Manager Nick DeRay. Others that I want to mention include our tech team who's doing all the magic tonight behind the curtain, Hannah Krass, Christian Bratt, Don Tubell, and others who are joining us and ensuring our ability to hold this virtual meeting tonight. Tonight, we're going to explain how it is that you can participate during the public comment and question period. We'll also hear from the project team with a presentation that explains the findings of the report. Now, a couple of housekeeping items. We are recording tonight's meeting, and there will be a recording online following tonight's meeting. This meeting is taking place virtually due to the pandemic. We do ask that you mute yourselves during the meeting and hold your questions until the end. We will accept questions and comments by two methods tonight, either via the chat feature or via audio comments. All comments or questions we would ask to be germane to tonight's topic, and we ask you to limit them to 3 minutes maximum if possible, if you're speaking as an individual or as an organization. So let me begin. The Park Board has been briefed, and we believe that it is vital that we continue this community conversation to ensure that all the voices are heard. We've received an enormous amount of input and comments, and that has really served to inform this report. Let's begin on some background on the process and the plans, and after that, we're going to hear from project managers Adam Wynn and Melissa Cameron. So welcome to the Fairfax County Park Authority Dog Park Study Draft Report public meeting. Next slide, please. Tonight, I've given the overview and some introductions, and then of course, we'll hear the report presentation, and then we will have a facilitated public comment session. Next slide, please. Just to give you some idea of the Park Authority, although if you love our dog parks, more than likely you're familiar with our park system, 330 miles of trails, 429 parks, almost 18 million visitors per annum, and about 23,600 acres of land. Next slide, please. And the Park Authority mission? Well, it's to enrich the quality for all members of the community through an enduring park system, providing a healthy environment, natural and cultural heritage, offering inspiring recreational experiencing, and promoting healthy lifestyles. And we believe that dog parks play a large role in that as well. Next slide, please. Of course, the Park Authority Board is a big part of our process always. They are the Park Authority's governing body, and they're comprised of 12 members appointed by the Board of Supervisors, 1 representative of the 9 supervisory districts, and 3 at-large members. Next slide, please. And so the logistics are in front of you, and this slide will come back later. And also you'll see in the chat box an opportunity to explain this. I'll give you as much information as possible as to how to participate, because that's one of the most important elements of tonight. You'll be able to type into the box, you'll be able to call in by phone, and of course we are recording tonight and we will make that available. Next slide, please. At this point, it is my pleasure to turn it over to the team. Thank you. I cannot hear our presenters at this time. Adam, you're on mute.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I am Adam Wynn, and I am the project manager for the dog park study. I'm joined here by my colleague, Melissa Cameron, who is a park planner, and tonight we'll be presenting an overview of the dog park study draft report. The Park Authority began working on the dog park study back in 2019 to better understand the needs and priorities for dog parks throughout the county. And you have all been very instrumental in helping shape this study through your participation and continued involvement. We hope to share with you tonight some of the highlights of the study and encourage all of you to review the draft study report, which is on the website. Next slide, please. So tonight, the presentation will focus on the study background, then we'll give an overview of what was in the report, and then finally we'll share some of the key takeaways of the study. Next slide, please. The study kicked off in 2019 and was conducted by a team of subject matter experts across the Park Authority. Team members included park operations, park services, financial management, volunteering coordinators, Fairfax County Park Foundation, and of course, planning and development staff. And then the mix of team members helped determine the focus areas of the study that ultimately became the outline of the draft report that we're sharing tonight. Next slide, please. So what about the dogs? Well, as of 2018, over 81,000 dogs were registered in Fairfax County. And I want to point out that there's likely more dogs that have been registered, so the number of dogs is likely larger. Almost 20% of households in the county own a dog. Fairfax County's population is quickly growing every year, which means so is the dog population. So all of these facts and figures point to the importance of why a study was needed to understand dog park use and demand throughout the county. Next slide, please. So why did the Park Authority conduct a study? Throughout the years, the Park Authority has received many questions and comments about the development of potential new dog parks or the alteration of existing dog parks. With so many requests, it became clear that a study would be needed to address these questions through research, analysis, and public outreach. The study and subsequently the draft report provide a framework to help guide the planning, design, and operation of dog parks in the county. I will emphasize that this is a broad study meant to provide guidance for future planning, development, and operational decisions. The development of any new dog parks or alterations of existing dog parks would happen at a much more local level and would, of course, involve community involvement as a separate process. Next slide, please. As I mentioned earlier, the study was completed by staff across several different Park Authority departments. Research and analysis was the backbone of the study. GIS and data was used to study the spatial composition of dog parks across the county relative to population concentrations and accessibility. We looked at dog parks in other jurisdictions and studied these for comparison for industry best practices, planning, design, and operation. Public engagement was crucial to the development of the study and continues to be. An online survey was put forth at the beginning of this study to gain a better understanding of the use of dog parks in the county. Over 4,600 took part in the survey, and the data acquired from this helped shape the study's recommendations. I'm sure many of you here tonight partook in the survey, so I thank you for your participation. Additionally, we have been receiving comments through the public's review of the draft report. Again, these comments help shape the study and very often focus our attention on concerns or ideas that we may not have been aware of before. Now I'm going to hand the presentation over to Melissa, who will provide an overview of the draft report.
I'd like to just jump in for a second and say if the audience should refresh their page if they can't see the slides. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Next slide, please. So now we'll jump into providing an overview of the draft report. First, we'll provide a brief recap of what we heard from the survey and comments we received as we kicked off the project. Then we'll dig into the different components of the report. Next slide, please. So to recap the survey, as Adam mentioned, we hosted a public survey, which launched in the fall-winter timeframe of 2019. The purpose of the survey was to better understand current dog park use, concerns, and preferences. The survey was digital and over 4,600 people participated. In terms of who took the survey, 90% of survey respondents were dog owners. And we received over 2,000 comments from both the survey and through the draft report kickoff phase. Next slide, please. The survey asked approximately 25 questions related to dog parks, from dog park visitation, dog park satisfaction, concerns at FCPA dog parks, dog park preferences, and dog park interest and involvement. The report details the full results from the survey, but we've highlighted just a few findings here. The first is that room for dogs to run or space, trash receptacles, shade, water, and parking were considered the most important features to have in a dog park. Next, we learned from the survey that over 700 respondents indicated they had an interest in learning about volunteering opportunities in our dog parks. Through the survey, we asked folks how far they'd be willing to travel to our dog parks by driving and walking. A 20-minute drive and a 10-minute walk were the most popular selections. Last, surface conditions, dog owners not paying attention, and lack of water were the top concerns for park visitors in our dog parks. Next slide, please. So what's in the report? So the dog park study team set out to answer a set of 20 questions across a variety of topic areas related to our dog parks. These 20 questions form the scope of work. Both the answers to these questions and recommendations for FCPA consideration are included in the draft report and are organized around 6 key themes, which we will provide a brief overview of in the following slides tonight. The 6 key themes are planning, design, operations and maintenance, volunteering, funding sources, and rules and enforcement. Next slide, please. The first theme we will discuss tonight is dog park planning. As Adam mentioned, we know that the population in the county is growing, and with it too will be the dog population and need for additional dog parks. In thinking about planning for future dog parks, we conducted a variety of analyses. We examined population-based needs, or dog parks per capita, through a review of the agency needs assessment. The needs assessment is a Park Authority Board approved document that is based on an in-depth evaluation and statistically valid survey of county and community needs. It also establishes park service level standards and is conducted every 10 years. We also conducted benchmarking to gauge how the amount of dog parks in the county compare to other jurisdictions. In addition, we conducted a spatial or mapping analysis using geographic information systems. The mapping analysis included examining 20-minute driving access to dog parks, how dog parks are distributed across the county's planning districts, as well as an evaluation of where registered dogs are located in the county. We also mapped out the dog parks that are planned but not yet built in FCPA parks. These mapping analyses helped us visualize a variety of new data points. An excerpt from the spatial analysis is shown on this slide here. This map depicts where existing and planned dog parks are located in the county. The black paw prints on this map indicate existing FCPA dog parks, and the blue paw prints indicate the dog parks that have been identified in a master plan, but not yet built in FCPA parks. The planning districts are also shown. So key recommendations from the planning analysis include that in addition to needs assessment service level standards, FCPA should plan so that all residents are within a 20-minute driving distance to dog parks across the county, and where feasible, plan so that residents have a 10-minute walk access in urban areas of the county to a dog park. We also recommend that the geographic distribution of dog parks, the location of registered dogs, and dog parks that are planned but not yet built be considered in planning going forward. Lastly, this study examined publicly owned and accessible dog parks. We recommend that in the future, an inventory be conducted of all privately owned, publicly accessible dog parks. Privately owned and publicly accessible dog parks are dog parks that are typically built through new building construction, such as an apartment complex, and serve both the residents of the new building as well as the broader community. One example of this is the Mile Dog Park in Tysons. Again, we want to have an inventory of these kinds of parks to ensure we have a more complete picture of all the dog parks in the county. And ideally, in the future, we'd like to make this information publicly available so that these dog parks can be easily located and accessed. So to wrap up, all of this planning information is detailed in great length in the report, which serves as a starting point for areas in the county where FCPA can use in its efforts in future planning and construction of dog parks in the near term and beyond. I'll hand it back over to Adam now, who will walk through the remaining themes of the report.
Thank you, Melissa. Next slide, please. The draft report provides a wealth of information on the design of dog parks. Recommendations and guidelines were developed that were informed by industry research, staff experience, and public input. The report provides recommendation on the sizing and proper locations for dog parks within parks. Recommendations were updated that consider distance from residences, environmental impacts, accessibility, and appropriate adjacent uses. Design guidelines have been developed as part of the study and are intended to be used as a resource for the design of future FCPA dog parks, but also has a resource to others in the county that may be considering building a dog park, such as HOAs and developers. Details and specifications are provided on everything from surfacing to designated separate dog areas and the importance of shade and water sources. Next slide, please. We have received a great number of comments over the years related to the operation and maintenance needs of dog parks. The draft report provides updated maintenance standards and the frequency in which they should be performed. This includes tasks such as trash removal and restocking dog waste bag stations. FCPA dog parks receive a large number of users, and keeping up with consistent maintenance requires resources. Many operational aspects of dog parks rely on users picking up after their dogs and being respectful of the rules. Maintenance needs that are above and beyond the operational tasks outlined in the report would require additional funding to support staff. The report recommends increasing promoting volunteering as a way to help with dog park oversight, which I'll speak to more in the next slide. Next slide, please. Overall, there are 3 paths that can be taken for volunteering at FCPA dog parks: individual volunteers, park volunteer teams, and friends groups. The differences between these programs are detailed in the report. The online survey conducted as part of the study showed that many participants were interested in volunteering. In response to this high interest, the report recommends promoting volunteering and ways to get involved. And the report also provides tools such as dog park monitor checklists and incident report forms to help support these programs. Finally, the report outlines appropriate duties that volunteers can assist park operational staff with. And this is mainly light maintenance tasks, inspections, and observation and documentation of rule violations. Next slide, please. New dog park construction, maintenance, and operational costs require funding sources. The report reviewed funding strategies undertaken by other jurisdictions and provided recommendations for future funding for dog parks. Park bond funding is generally utilized for land acquisition and park development to meet the needs of the county's growing population. Park bond funding is one option that can be used to construct dog parks that has been used in the past. Other potential funding sources include voluntary contributions as part of a county dog park registration process, and also donations through the Fairfax County Park Foundation. Dog parks operate most successfully through partnerships with communities. Partnerships with friends groups and HOAs remain as the preferred methods for partnering. The report spells out the details and relationship structure and benefits for all these types of partnerships. Next slide, please. Melissa. Are a lot of use, and the rules are needed to keep people and dogs safe. As part of the study, other jurisdiction rules were reviewed, and general industry best practices were analyzed as a benchmark for FCPA's rules. It was determined that no changes are needed to the dog park rules, but there is a need for additional enforcement of the rules themselves. As mentioned earlier, volunteers and park users can help support violations as it's not possible to have park staff on site at all times. The study recommends conducting a signage audit for each dog park to ensure that the rules, contact information, and any fines are clearly and consistently displayed. Additionally, the study recommends updating the webpage and a brochure with information about the rules, dog park etiquette, and reporting procedures. Next, Melissa will give an overview of the key takeaways from the study.
Thanks, Adam. Next slide, please. So yes, I'll now provide a review of the key takeaways from tonight's presentation. Next slide, please. So to recap, through the dog park study, the Park Authority heard from the public about dog park preferences, suggestions, and ideas, many of which informed the recommendations throughout the study. In addition, we evaluated countywide dog park need, provided recommendations for future dog park planning considerations, and updated site placement guidelines. We did this in part by looking at comparable jurisdictions, the spatial locations of dog parks, and other data to help us in providing these recommendations. We did not identify new locations for dog parks. Rather, we provided a framework to help us in making decisions going forward. In addition, through this study, we created dog park design guidelines and other tools, such as a siting criteria checklist, volunteer incident report form, and an infographic on the park master planning process, to name a few. We also identified operations and maintenance best practices. Next slide, please. We also recommended potential design and operational improvements to our existing dog parks, evaluated dog park volunteering options, and identified appropriate volunteer tasks and responsibilities. We examined and recommended funding sources and donation opportunities and avenues. And lastly, we analyzed rules, enforcement, and etiquette and provided recommendations accordingly. Next slide, please. So what's next? Most immediately, in terms of tonight's presentation, in just a moment, we'll turn it back over to our Public Information Officer, Judy Peterson, who will help facilitate a comment and question answer session for any questions you might have with you tonight. In terms of the project next steps, FCPA will be accepting comments until April 23rd, 30 days from today. You can send them online through the comment portal we have set up on our project webpage or directly to FCPA's email, which is parkmail@fairfaxcounty.gov. Following the closing of the comment period, FCPA will work to revise the draft report and then publish a final copy of the report. As a reminder, the draft report is now available on the project website, and once the final report is complete, it will be made available there as well. You can follow the project by checking the project webpage for updates. The link is provided here, as is a QR code, which if you scan with your phone, will bring you to the dog park project webpage. If you have any further questions, you can always send a direct email to Adam Wynn, the primary point of contact for this project, again at parkmail@fairfaxcounty.gov. With that, Judy, I will hand it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that informative presentation. We appreciate it. Well, now it's time to hear from you. My understanding is that there's about 100 people participating in this meeting, and that is wonderful. So here's how you join in the conversation. For the duration of this meeting, we will be accepting comments and questions in the public input chat box. Please feel free to leave us your email address if you want updates. We'll be glad to take that. This email address will be available to us, but it will not be publicly posted to the chat box. So should you wish to dial in and speak to us over the phone, please call the number located right above this video. And that number is 855-925-2801. Then you enter the code also right above this video. That code is 8035. Once you dial in, the recorded message will ask you to press star for more options. Now, if you want to join the speaker queue, press option 3. That will pop into the speaker queue, but will still allow you to listen to the message. And we will put that where you can see it. It's a little bit more complicated sounding than it really is. All right. And at this point, you may want to step away from your computer because if you're joining us, there's going to be a bit of a delay, and that you could find that a bit distracting or confusing. Plus, we will end up hearing ourselves twice through your phone. So when it's your turn in the queue to speak, we will let you know that you're ready. We're ready for your call, and the pre-recorded voice will prompt you and let you know that it's your turn. We would ask before you speak that you do state your name, and that's really for accessibility requirements, and then make your comments. Also, we're going to give you a 30-second warning that you're near the end of your time. We ask you to remain on topic. Also, we've posted the how-tos in the chat box, and I promise I will go over those instructions again as needed. Please be timely and courteous to the group. So I'd like to begin, and I'm just going to take a look at some of the comments in the chat box, and then we'll take some phone calls as well. Okay. So from the Humane Society, from Gina Lynch, why was there no representative on the study by the Animal Police Protection Officers or the Fairfax Animal Shelter? That is for our team.
Thank you, Judy. So to answer that, this was very much a broader planning study where we thought that the Animal Police Protection Officers is a group that we can follow up with additionally as the study continues.
Thanks, Adam. Hi, my name is Anna Bentley. I want to introduce myself. I'm the Park Planning Manager for the Park Authority. I want to thank you for that comment and affirm that we are absolutely happy to set up a meeting and discuss this draft study with, I see the name, I won't say it on the air in case that individual doesn't want their name shared, but please feel free to reach out to Park Mail and or Adam Wynn, and we'd be glad to convene a meeting to talk about what we currently have in this FCPA focused dog park study. Thank you, Judy.
Sure. Our next comment is anonymous, and it asks, have you accounted for the increased number of dogs that residents have registered throughout the pandemic?
The study used the, I believe it was the 2019 registered dogs, as that was the most recent data that we had at the time. So the short answer is we don't know how many, if there's a lot more dogs added, but we suppose our thoughts are that likely there were. Dog parks and this study, it's all planning for an increase in dogs regardless of.
I'm going to take one more comment before I go to the phones, and this is from Kim Davis. How do I find out information on organizing or starting a friends group?
Thank you, Kim. So we actually have a friends group coordinator, and we also have a friends group website that gives great instructions on how to go about organizing and starting a friends group. So I would definitely start there, and we can send out information to where all that information is located on this website.
All right, I know we had some callers earlier. Perhaps he'll join us again. We're going to continue on the comments. From Susan Long, the type of trash receptacle used in dog areas should be designed with the ability to use one hand to access the can while the other is holding a leash. The pictured trash can is challenging to use when managing a leash dog. The lids are heavy and must be lifted to deposit the dog bag. Any comments or thoughts?
Yes, thank you, Susan. That is a great comment, and it's partly my undersight of using just a garbage can photo without thinking of that's not one of the actual trash receptacles that we use in our dog parks. But yes, we would be promoting using trash receptacles that make it easy for users to dispose, but also our own maintenance staff. Thank you.
I also wanted to remind those who dial in, the recorded message is going to ask you to press star for more options. And if you want to join the speaker queue, press option 3. Okay, and that will help pop you into the speaker queue, but still allow you to listen to the message. Okay. All right, let me go back to the next question here. Jane asks, does the Park Authority get the revenue from dog licenses, or does it just go into the revenue fund?
Thank you, Jane. It just goes into the general revenue fund.
Okay. Vanessa Girardi says the number of registered dogs generates about $800,000 a year. 13 dog parks versus maintenance costs of $10,000 per year, $130K per year. That leaves over $500,000 of funds generated by dog tag fees. The problem isn't having enough dollars. The problem is effective management of what we already have. Okay. Anybody want to tackle that or just take it as a comment?
I think we can take this as a comment, and it'll be sure to be considered in the study.
The only other thing I would add, though, just for clarification, dog, and I'm kind of looking at the two experts, Melissa and Adam, if you could confirm for me, dog license fees do not come to the Park Authority. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so just for the record, I think it is helpful for us to note that. Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to the phones now. Hannah, if you can get that rolling for me, please. Caller, can you hear me? Let me see if we can. There's always a little bit of a delay. If you can hear me, caller.
Good afternoon.
Hi,
Yes, I'm
would
here.
you give
Good
us your name
afternoon.
and
Can you hear me
speak
now?
up? I can hear you.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Banks Summers, and I'm calling on behalf of the Lander and Margaret Lomax banks located in Kingstown. And I just want to make 2 comments this afternoon for the record, that I am opposed of a potential off-leash dog park at the Banks Park in Kingstown. And the other statement is that more of the concentration that I believe should be focused on is the educational needs of the children within the Fairfax County Park Authority.
All right, well, Carolyn, I know we've received some correspondence from you. The staff is aware of your concerns and we do appreciate them, and they will be entered into the record as you noted, and will also be considered.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Good to hear from you. I know we have another caller. If we can go to the next caller. If that caller can hear me.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, if you could tell us your name and speak nice and loudly, please.
Sure. My name is Pam Vanderberg. I live in Kingstown community and have since 2005. First of all, let me commend you guys for actually putting the study together. We in Kingstown, a lot of the residents out here have wanted a dog park for several number of years and have approached the board about it, but they've indicated they don't have the property available to have such a park. So we are, a lot of us are very excited about it. We have several dogs out here, and I'm going to finish this. I'm going to ask a couple of questions, but because of that, we certainly would like a dog park out here. I'm sure there's those that are opposed, as you heard, but there would be a lot of people, probably a lot of volunteer opportunities out here. And I don't know where we are in line. I guess you haven't made a determination as to if the Banks Park will be one of those that are planned for future, but I hope it is. One thing I do want to point out, Fairfax County has done a lot in the way of parks for children. I love kids. but we also need something for the dogs in this area. My question is, you talked a little bit about funding and the fact that you have plenty of funding, but maybe you could talk just a minute more about why there's, if it's an efficiency issue with the funding, or is the funds diverted to other purposes that are needed? And then secondly, my next question is involving the HOAs. You mentioned something about having HOA involvement, and I want to know more about that and how to get that done.
All right, some very good points and some interesting questions. I'm going to turn that over to a couple of members of the team. They perhaps would explain kind of the process as to how a dog park gets onto a master plan, and then perhaps again touch on the funding issue. Just to be clear, I want everybody to know we do not get funding from the dog licenses for these kinds of projects. I'll leave it there for the team.
Yes, so the funding for dog parks, the first step is the report provides a list of master plan dog parks that were master planned in the county but are unbuilt. And the dog park you're referring to is one of those. Now that they are master planned, really, can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Really,
Yeah.
the next step is which dog parks that we prioritize to build really is based on the community support and the other planning factors provided in this report, but also securing funding so that we only have so much funding to build so many dog parks. So kind of all those factors go into the bucket when we prioritize which dog parks to construct.
Anna?
Thanks, Judy. And thank you, Adam, for that information. One other thing that I would like to highlight, and Adam and Melissa can tell me if this is incorrect, but I was interested to learn today when I think they told me that the majority of the dog parks we have been provided and are due to partnerships and working with communities to make them happen. We do not and have not historically had the kind of funding to be able to implement these dog parks in absence of those funding and partnership supports. So that is a critical element. And as they've stated, there's more information in the report on that. And I think there might even be some more questions in the lineup about that. So thank you for your questions.
Thank you very much, caller. Appreciate it. I want to go back to our chat for just a moment before they run off my page. Jennifer Saar, there are some great ideas here, or good ideas, I'm sorry. When would any of them be implemented?
Well, some of the ideas in the report, we can begin working on them right away. That includes suggestions about, we talk about dog behavior brochures and website updates and getting information. Those are things that can be started on more immediately. And then when it comes to making improvements in the existing dog parks or constructing new dog parks, that all relies on securing the funding, working with different partnership groups, and continued community interest. So those aspects of it take a little bit longer.
Thanks, Adam. And I would say that the Park Foundation is here with us, I believe, this evening in case there's any questions, but they're a key partner with us often and work with the community. We have a caller and we have several on hold. So let me go back to the phones. Caller, can you hear me? Caller, can you hear me? Let's see. Caller, can you hear me?
I'm not seeing anyone in the queue anymore.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Hannah. All right. Our next question is, when is the final report anticipated to be posted?
The final, I'm trying to remember the exact time, but we would basically make any revisions after this meeting, and then it would be posted in the next couple of months.
Okay, Anna, did you want to add? Nope, you were just popping up. Okay.
Sorry about that. Yes, I just
That's
wanted
fine.
to say, the current projection is late summer. We would anticipate having a final report that is revised and available online. Thank you.
Sure. There's an anonymous question. How do you want us to handle people that come to the dog park with young children? Most people have to hold their dogs until the young kids leave.
I know we have specific rules with the age of children that are permitted and and when they need to be accompanied by an adult. I'm trying to.
I'm wondering if Jeff Winkle from our Park
Yeah,
Operations Division, I'm putting you on the spot, Jeff. Maybe you can talk about the rules at the dog parks and the compliance with that.
Yeah, absolutely. We do our best, when we're out and about during the day to enforce rules when we can. Unfortunately, we're certain times, but the best way to do it, unfortunately, is to call the police non-emergency line. They enforce our rules and regulations when we're unable to do so.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead. I think we have a caller on the line. Is there a caller on the line? Can you hear me? Caller?
Yes, hi. This is
Hi, could
Carolyn.
you tell us your name, please, and speak nice and loud?
Yes, hi, good afternoon. It's Carolyn Banks Summers again. I have a very vital question to ask. And my question relates to the Clean Water Act. As you know, that there is a creek stream that runs through the Banks Park property. So how is that handled with the dog waste with the Clean Water Act?
Okay, Carolyn, let's see if we can get an answer.
I can speak to that. This is Melissa.
Okay,
Just more broadly, in terms of dog waste and stormwater concerns, I want to just share that we researched those environmental concerns extensively through our project process. And so environmental factors are addressed in our proposed siting criteria, which include specified distances from easements, floodplains, environmental quality corridors, and other environmentally sensitive areas. And so dog parks need to be sited a certain distance from those, are required to be sited a certain distance from them. And I just wanted to also add that in our design guidelines for dog parks, we've put forward additional recommendations for stormwater best management practices, including installing a curb around the perimeter of the dog parks to contain surface runoff. And also, we're very proactive. We are proactive and have put forward recommendations related to where we site the pet waste bag stations to make sure that they are near entrances, at intersections of walking paths, and near parking lots going forward.
all right. Carolyn, we have seen your issues again, and we are going to take them into consideration. We have another caller. Also, there is a request for your email, Adam, if you're so inclined.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
this is Tom Purcell. I'd just like to make a comment that, enforcing these rules, saying that the rules need to be enforced and actually enforcing them if you're a volunteer are just two completely separate things. And, if you've ever approached somebody with the previous question about children at the park, if you've ever approached somebody and told them, hey, your child shouldn't be at the park, if they just tell you to drop dead, that's a good comment. I mean, that's something good that they're saying to you. So, there's got to be a level of reality here. The police are not going to come. They've told us that. So to say that to call the police is not an option. They've just said, if we respond to every call at a dog park, we'll be doing nothing else but responding to calls at dog parks. So, there's got to be a reality check on some of this. We can't just be saying, well, this is what we need to do. Well, how does, if a volunteer says something, what's their support? So that's my comment.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. I have to just add that, Park Authority personnel don't have any enforcement powers. We don't have rangers, we don't have police powers, so we do have to depend on the police. But when there is an identified area that's an issue, whether it's a whole variety of issues, we do work closely with the police. So, but your point is well taken, and we appreciate the comment. So thank you, caller. I appreciate it. We have another caller. Let's go ahead and get this caller in, and then I'll go back to the ones in the chat. Caller, could you please state your name? Caller, could you state your name, please? Yeah, let's see.
It's coming. It's
okay.
Slow though.
Sorry.
I guess.
Is there another caller that we can hear? Caller, can you hear me? Let's see. Well, I'll give it another try. Caller, are you there? Okay, well, I'm going to go back and take another comment. I'm not sure I understand this one myself. Luke Catania, can you indicate what area the blue paw in Kingstown area represents? Is that a reference to the map?
I believe that is a reference to the map. I don't know if we have the ability right now to pull open the map to clarify.
I believe, this is Melissa. I think they're very close together on the map, but it could be either Lenclaire, Bryn Mawr, or Franconia Park. Those are generally in the Kingstown area.
Okay. Is there another caller? All right, back to the posts here.
I'll just state real quick. If your number ends in 669, maybe try dropping off. It's not showing that you're connecting to the queue, and then call back. That might reset it for you.
Thanks, Hannah. We really do want to get everybody in, and virtual meetings can be a little frustrating at times. I understand that. All right. I see something that says a caller, but maybe not. Yes. Okay. Caller should try again. Okay. So Elizabeth Betsy Costel, how did you choose the proposed dog parks? I could not find it. The McLean Central Park plan. I support having a dog park in McLean Central Park.
So the question is, how did we select the dog parks that are in the study? So no specific locations for dog parks are provided in the study other than the parks where they were already master planned. And then the rest of the study points to areas of the county where there may be gaps in the provision of county dog parks. Using the demand, where the demand was higher based off things like the survey we conducted previously.
Okay, the caller is back when I am ready, and I am
Judy,
almost ready. Okay, go ahead, Anna.
I'm sorry. I just want to add one more thing to the that question that you read. The question also asks about you couldn't find the reference to a dog park in the McLean Central Park plan. It is there. It's not in the graphic, but it absolutely is in the adopted master plan. And just to repeat again, the dog parks that are presented in maps or listed in the report are either existing dog parks or dog parks that are already in approved Park Authority master plans. Thank you, Judy.
Sure. Caller, are you there? Can you hear me, caller?
Can you hear me?
We can. If you would be kind enough to give us your name and speak up loudly, please.
Sure. My name is Cherry, and I was calling. I know this is a Fairfax County Park Authority for dog parks, but I wanted to know, I live in Fairfax County. Does the Park Authority assist existing communities within Fairfax County to build a dog park within their community?
So the question is, does the Park Authority assist HOAs with building a dog park in the community? So we can
Correct.
only, sorry,
That's correct.
so we can only build, we obviously only concentrate on Park Authority owned property. So unfortunately, we can't assist if the dog park was located on HOA land, but the guidelines and the suggestions as part of this report can certainly be used as a resource for any HOA when they're doing their planning, but there's no requirements since the Park Authority doesn't own the land.
Okay, caller?
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for calling in. We appreciate it. All right. Let's see. So we have also from Carolyn another comment. I realize the master plan was concluded in 2016. One of the potential sites listed seems inappropriate given that it embodies an RPA as denoted by the Chesapeake Bay Act. Is it possible to have questionable sites currently on the master plan removed? Would somebody like to address sort of the master plan as guidance?
Sure, I'm glad to talk a little bit generally about master plans. You know, again, this dog park study focused on coming up with guidance for how we would plan future dog parks for those amenities, whether they be dog parks or other that are already on approved master plans. To alter that requires a master planning public process. So master plans are public processes that the Park Authority initiates to involve the community in identifying amenities that are appropriate for that location. We use a series of different inputs, including needs assessments, comparative data, benchmarking, a host of different sources to work with other agencies, other divisions, and the public to identify those. Those processes take anywhere from 12 to 16 months to complete. So to change anything on an approved master plan would require an additional master planning process.
Thank you, Anna. All right, we have a comment from Aaron Mays. I know most water in Fairfax City or county is protected. I would love a place to take my dog swimming. Currently, I drive to Glen Carlin and Shirlington in Arlington and Duff, McDuff, Green, and Stafford because Fairfax doesn't offer this option. I would be happy with a holding pond or something. Do we have any options for this?
Thank you. We currently do not have any options for having a dog park basically on a stream or body of water, citing some of the Chesapeake Bay and other environmental impact regulations that we spoke about previously. We do actually have events where we open up at the end of summer the water mine at Lake Fairfax to allow dogs for swimming. And I know of dog parks that have fountains that dogs can kind of run under. And should we receive funding or support for something like that in a future dog park, that could always be considered.
All right, thank you. So we have an interesting conversation here from a dog play group member, and I learn something new every day at work. I didn't know that there were actually dog play groups, but now I know. So there is a dog play group with a large number of residents from the Foxfield and Franklin Glen communities who proposed a private dog park to our respective HOAs. Unfortunately, this proposal was rejected due to unfortunate false information and fear-mongering. In a situation like that, are you able to look at these neighborhoods to see if there is a good location for a public dog park that would benefit a significant group to include those mentioned above?
So again, the this study puts forth locations of where in the county there are gaps. So we currently have 7 master planned unbuilt dog parks. And then we look at other areas of the county where there's gaps to start a planning process to look at constructing additional. So I guess the long answer is yes, that makes sense from a planning approach, and all of the data and population figures in the report.
You know, I would just comment that since we started doing dog parks, I don't know that we've had any that were not without controversy. There are some people who adore them and others who have other concerns. And so it's always a balancing act. I would definitely say that. All right, from Stacy McFarland. Let's see, how would a partnership with an HOA be structured? Who would pay for building and maintenance?
So partnerships with HOAs typically happen when a new dog park is constructed by a private developer, and then that land is transferred over to the park authority. And there's the possibility during that arrangement to have maintenance agreements with the HOA should they sponsor that original development. So it's a little, there's currently no structure for if it's a existing HOA, it's more something that could occur during the development of a new proper dog park.
Thank you, Adam. From Anonymous, are you going to put a covered message board back up at Rock Hill Dog Park? It's a great way to communicate community dog news, lost and found, etc.
That is something I have no specific background on. Jeff, is that anything you have more information on?
Well, I know we have a sign policy that's just being completed. Jeff, you can comment on this. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. So kiosks like that are, we sort of review and see what's being used, what's not being used, and sometimes remove them. Part of our issue is that we can't necessarily control what's being posted on kiosks, and sometimes they're not used for appropriate things, that sometimes we take them down for that reason. But yeah, we can certainly look at Rock Hill. I'll make a note of that and see what happened to that kiosk.
Thank you. All right, we have, and somebody will tell me if we get any more calls waiting, but from Tom Cresselt, I hope I pronounced that relatively closely. Is there any planning as for what improvements will be made at each dog park and the sequence?
Yes, we have a section in the report dedicated to all of the recommended improvements for all of our 11 existing dog parks. And that can be found in the report with different items like improving the slope of the surfacing to having shade to the possibility of a drinking fountain. So that's all in the report.
The dog park playgroup member has asked or added, this was not pitched as a partnership, but rather a request for them to pay for this as a benefit and an amenity to the community. I guess referring back to the HOA. Thank you for that clarity. Vanessa Girardi, Kingstown already has the lake. It can walk dogs around. Okay. Liz, if we know of a public dog park that does not have signs or rules, how do we inform the county, or should we let the county know?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that question.
If we know of a public dog park that does not have signs or rules, how do we inform the county, or should we let the county know?
Certainly, you should let the park authority know if it's a FCPA dog park, if there's signs missing. And one of the suggestions in the study is conducting a signage audit to make sure that all of our dog parks have consistent rules displayed prominently so everybody can see them.
Okay. From Tom Cresselt, what is the expected upkeep maintenance cycle, not referring to trash, for a dog park? It seems like this team is understaffed. Jeff, or go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll start and then I'll hand it off to Jeff. So the report actually outlines our maintenance tasks that we perform for dog parks and the frequency per week, and that includes items like emptying the trash, restocking the doggy bags, and we recognize that our dog parks get a lot of use, and there could always be more maintenance. But that requires a level of funding that we don't have. Jeff, is there anything additionally on top of that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I would just add that we certainly do our best to keep to those standards that we identified, and we try to make them as realistic as possible with our available resources, both human resources and funding. And then oftentimes we just cycle through some low periods and having those human resources, having all our positions filled. So sometimes it is a struggle. But a part of this process, part of this dog park study is to try to make sure we solidify those and get the funding we need to keep those standards on schedule.
Thank you, Jeff. Jennifer writes, also in the executive summary, it mentions that current dog parks with the whitewash stone, aka litter, will continue with that surface type because of its low maintenance and likely low cost. I'd like to lobby to change this. Not only is the smell unbearable on certain days, it's really unhealthy for dogs who pick up their balls that have rolled on this, that other dogs have done their business on, and unhealthy for the owners breathing in this dust and bacteria. If these parks aren't updated, the masses will go to the new ones, and these will suffer. No?
So we actually did a lot of homework when benchmarking and looking at what other jurisdictions use for their preferred surfacing. So alternatives include grass, stone dust surfacing. Some places use mulch, and really we weighed the pros and cons of each. Grass tends to denude and become mud if it's a small area. Artificial turf is expensive, and it's a level that we cannot afford for every dog park. So stone dust was really the medium option that met maintenance needs and also hit the magic point for cost. And additionally, it's constructed correctly. It should drain water. And a lot of the issues we have encountered in some of our dog parks is that they're built on steep slope or on slopes higher than they should be. So one of the recommendations is correcting those slopes, and we've actually put specifications for what I think you call it the kitty litter, but the stone dust. And actually, there's certain specifications that allow it to drain, and using that should help a lot of those dusty conditions.
All right, thank you. Let's see, we have a question from Tom. When is funding expected?
Is that in specific to?
Nope.
I think so. There's we identified in the study that park bond funding, it would be appropriate to use for construction of one new dog park by 2025. There are other dog parks that have been master planned already that we show as part of this report, and funding for those would be on a case-by-case basis and working with partnerships, donations. So I don't have any specific date for any of those.
If I could add,
Sure.
Judy, that sort of typically, and you actually might have better information than I do on this, since we just came out of one, but funding for capital facilities, construction of amenities, is typically provided through the park bond, which we have historically conducted every 4 years. You know, we can conduct them on different timeframes, but they have historically been every 4 years, and that is the primary source for funding of large capital facilities, of which, you know, this certainly could be an example.
That is correct. It comes out of bond funding. Sometimes there's some Masterbrook grants if it's on public property. Now there's, as we said, mostly partnerships. So, just start thinking that through. So we have from Anonymous, we have, thank you. I'll take that. We appreciate that. Secondly, the question for of funding continues to come up. Perhaps you could add details in the report about what happens to the registration fees. Third, has the issues of dog parks been addressed in the FCPA needs assessment? If not, can it be in the future?
So the current needs assessment is that we use is from 2016, and it's one dog park per 86,000 population. And as we continue doing needs assessments, we'll be looking not only at population, but accessibility throughout the county as an important metric as well.
Thanks. A couple of things just to add to this. Just to be very clear again, the Park Authority does not receive any of the fees or funding from dog licenses, from dog registrations. Those go directly to the county, to the general fund, and are distributed through that. And yes, as Adam has described, the last needs assessment was conducted in 2016. It provided the population-based service level standard that he shared, not just for dog parks, but for all of the different types of amenities that we provide to the public in our parks. We have an initiative now that's ongoing. It's a product of the goals and the actions in our agency strategic plan to look at facilities in their places, to consider where we should put them. So access and distribution, a lot of the things that this dog park study looked at. So going forward, we will have a parks, recreation, and open space approach that will help us place, to know where to put the amenities that are required by the needs assessment. The next needs assessment will be able to benefit from some of that additional information. So we'll have even more information for the next cycle.
Thank you, Anna. Kim Davis asks, what are the other public dog park noted in the planning section, figure 15, existing and planned FCPA dog parks map?
I can speak to that. This is Melissa. That is Moorfield Dog Park in the town of Vienna and Westmore Dog Park in the city of Fairfax.
So generally, the maps that show other public dog parks means dog parks that are public, so they're city or town, just not Fairfax County Park Authority.
Thank you. I believe we have a caller. Caller, can you hear me? Caller, if you could state your name and speak loudly, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. This is Pam Vanderver again. I just want to ask a follow-up on the funding issue.
Sure.
I heard twice, no funding, but exception being partnerships. What is the appetite, if you know, for the county board to take the funding, different funding sources, i.e. for licenses or possible dog park membership club or something of that nature to offset some of the issues with funding, maybe from lack of partnership funding?
Thank you, Pam. Adam, would you like to talk to that? I know you guys looked at it in the study.
Yes, so we have a whole section of the report dedicated on potential funding sources. And like you stated, park bond funding is one source that dog parks can be funded by. But we also put recommendations for funding through donations, through partnerships, and then also the recommendation for soliciting for donations through the dog park registration process. And those are all, again, recommendations for supplementing that park bond funding.
I get that. You're talking about funding it too. Do you know what the amount of the bonds are that to fund the parks? I guess it's what was $10,000 a year or something to that effect you had for the existing parks. I'm just trying to get at if there's a way to all of us provide dog licenses and we pay them every year. And it's what, $800 and something thousand. And I don't see why some of that money could not be used to fund some of these parks.
So we do have in the report the rough cost that it costs to maintain our average dog park, and that's the maintenance. And then the construction of new dog parks, that cost really varies depending on the dog park, the specific location, the size, things like that.
Have you looked at those that are the dog parks that are on the study now? Have you come up with an estimated cost for that or no?
We have not.
So I think, in the report, dog parks are not the only amenity for which we have funding challenges, whether it's construction of new or maintaining of the ones that we have. And I think the study does a really good job of identifying some strategies that we can use, and also encourages us and lays the groundwork for us to have conversations exactly about what we're talking about. Talk to other agencies to determine if there is the potential for us to be able to receive some very small portion, perhaps, of licensing fees for maintenance, ongoing maintenance and operations of dog parks. But that's the next step. That's a conversation that we're not in a position, we can't comment on that now. That's not one that's happened, but we certainly are open to that. And if at some point in time it enters the public realm and there's the opportunity for you to speak to your elected officials about it, and you feel so called to do so, we'd be happy to do that. So thank you for your comments.
One follow-up on. Well, let
Yeah,
me ask
last,
one more
last,
follow-up on
last
that.
question, please. Go ahead.
The studies that you've done with different cities, have they approached it and used some of the funding sources for licenses from licenses parks?
Did everybody hear that question?
Yeah, Melissa or Adam, are you able to comment on whether you uncovered any evidence in your comparative benchmark analysis as to whether or not other jurisdictions used portions of dog licensing or registration fees for operations?
Yes, we actually have a table within the report that where we comparatively show other jurisdictions. Some jurisdictions have basically fees that they charge when the dog is being registered, and then other jurisdictions outright charge a membership fee. So we looked at all those alternatives, and they're all outlined in the funding section of the report.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Let me get through some more of the comments here. Red Burkheister, where do we find information on the current master planned dog parks? Additionally, I see that Fairfax currently maintains just 11 off-leash dog parks to service the entire county of over 1.1 million residents. Alexandria City alone maintains 12 off-leash areas within just its own smaller area for just 150,000 residents. As a resident of Kingstown, I very much support a new dog park for our growing population that has needed one for many years, but I am concerned that the county cannot hope to adapt to the population increase with the current pace of parks. I guess, I can just tell you that we're hearing that comment and it's becoming a part of the record, and our park board does pay attention. That's why we hold these meetings. Adam and Melissa want to add anything to that?
I have nothing more to add other than the comment is noted, and we'll take it into consideration of the study.
Okay, thank you. Jennifer says, I have a question from some friends. Any chance of redeveloping or transforming any of the numerous unused athletic fields into a dog park? We notice way too many athletic fields going unused, minimally used. Would it be nice to have a grassy field dog area like us dogs like to run in the grass too?
So I first want to offer a comment, and then I'll ask Adam to maybe repeat some of the comments about different surfaces. Looking at conversion of existing field or existing facilities that we have was not one of the things that this study looked at. In general, I would caution people to assume that if they don't see something being actively used while they happen to be there, that there aren't perhaps groups scheduled to use it who are running late, or other sort of use scenarios or use cases. But certainly as an authority, as a park agency, we are constantly trying to get better information about utilization of our various types of facilities and amenities to help us determine how we can best meet the needs of our, the varied needs of our diverse and active population. So that's not to say that we wouldn't consider conversion of something to something else. Oh, we can't hear you, Judy.
Judy, you're muted.
I'm sorry, sometimes the backstage folks take control, which is good. Keeps us from getting all kinds of issues. I apologize, I didn't see that. I did not mean to skip this one. If I did, my apologies. In the executive summary, I noticed a mention of just one new dog park created by 2025. Did I read that right? Only one?
So the study recommends at least one new dog park within the next 4 years to be constructed to meet the park service level standards, which were put forth in the needs assessment. However, that doesn't mean that construction of any additional dog parks are not possible. These construction of all the dog parks that are shown on that map, which are the dog parks that are master planned but unbuilt, really is dependent on available funding.
All right. So again, there's a question, am I systemically going down the list of questions or selecting and choosing? Again, if I skipped anybody's question, I apologize. And if for some reason you don't hear me say it, please enter it again. I am going down the line. I have a couple of screens to look at, so it is possible that that I might have missed one accidentally. Liz Williams asks, I would like to add for the comment regarding the sign audit to add no treats in a public dog park. The incidents I have had in the park is when a dog resource guards and a pack gets involved. Okay.
So the comment noted, we'll definitely look into that and consider it within the study.
Okay, Steve Best, let me make a pitch for better gates. In particular, what works is to put the gates on a concrete slab that avoids the muddy pits that the dogs wear in the dirt outside the gates. The slab also connects the gate posts so that they stay aligned with each other. Visit South Run to see what happens when the gate posts are separately anchored. They've shifted and the maintenance people can't get a fix that lasts. Go for the concrete slab.
So great comment, Steve. Actually, in the study report, we recommend what we're calling an entry corral. And that is, the entry corral would be a paved concrete slab. And that will not only help keep the gate secure, but it also is something we're recommending to help with Americans with disabilities to be able to easily access the dog park, because that, as you said, that area can get used pretty heavily.
All right, so I believe I read this one before, but just in case it got lost, about the blue paw on the map in Kingstown, the closest park is Manchester Lakes Park. Hoping that is it. Was that what you said it was, Melissa?
Okay, the three parks sort of in the Kingstown area are Lenclaire, Franconia, and Bryn Mawr.
Okay, that's the blue paw on the map?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Jennifer writes, thank you all for conducting this much needed assessment, long overdue. Many of the results and recommendations are spot on. I live in Reston and there is a desperate need for another dog park. Space is way too overcrowded. I have to leave the meeting. Jennifer, we really appreciate all your input, as we do from everybody. So thank you. And, you know, again, this is just another step in the process. Vanessa writes, what is the procedure to have one of the future sites removed from consideration?
So again, Anna explained this pretty well earlier, but all of our parks and the uses in them are determined through a public master planning process. So to make any changes like removing a current feature, we would have to go through what's called a master planning revision process, which would again reach out to the public and basically gain their input before making any changes.
And Vanessa continues, although this meeting and everybody's time is appreciated, it is really an exercise in futility. How can residents have a meaningful conversation with decision makers regarding an oversight in the master plan? I would just say that I can tell you, I've been with the Park Authority quite some time. Our board members are sensitive to the input at public meetings. They do review the record. They are interested in the comments. I would also encourage you to send us something via park mail. You're welcome to put direct it to the board, and those do go directly to the board. We don't hold them back, so we're trying to be very transparent. Anybody else on the team like to add anything?
I have nothing further to add, Judy.
Okay. Let's see. Just make sure. So Lauren T writes, many thanks for leading what seems like a comprehensive evaluation and consideration process. I would encourage the Park Authority to think outside the box when it comes to dog parks. It would be great to be able to utilize existing trails and fields for off-leash use rather than a fenced-in rectangle or adding new fenced-in rectangles. Certain parks could be designated as mixed use, and residents who didn't mind sharing space with off-leash dogs could still be free to use them. Okay, thank you, Lauren, for that interesting comment. Sherry Reed, thank you, Jeff, for checking into the missing kiosk. It was taken down 2 years ago as it was falling apart. We used the ledge for found keys and sunglasses and tumblers, etc. Regular dog park users have taken down inappropriate messages. It would be great to have a new kiosk up. Okay. I'm just checking if there's any other callers. Dog play group member. Follow-up question to Karina's about HOA. If the proposed dog park is on a pipeline and the pipeline company is willing to allow a dog park there, are you able to build one on that land? The HOA mows the land, but I believe it is owned by the pipeline company.
So the core answer to that question would be it would have to be owned by the Park Authority. I'm not clear if this is HOA land or Park Authority. Then the language in the easement would have to specifically state what is allowed and what is not allowed. But again, the Park Authority would need to own the land.
And they add, in other words, can the county build a dog park inside the confines of an HOA but owned by a pipeline company? And I think you addressed that. All right, moving down the list here. From Caitlin, good point above off-leash trails. That's what we had in Germany, and it contributed greatly to dogs learning how to be out and about in public while going someplace, not just running in a circle. Charlottesville has at least one trail that allows off-leash dogs part of the week, not on the weekend. Okay.
Okay. That definitely could be considered as part of the study.
Anonymous writes, the study used the 2018 dog registration number. Is that correct?
I believe it is the 2019 dog registration number. Is that correct, Melissa?
Yes, for the figure that we have showing the density of registered dogs in the county, we use 2019 data from the Department of Tax Administration.
All right. Steve writes, regarding crushed stone as the preferred surface, I see that Arlington chose gravel for their just refurbished Benjamin Banneker dog park. Have you talked to them? What was their thinking?
Actually, good question. We actually met with the project manager that developed Benjamin Banneker Dog Park when we started doing this study, and we kind of compared notes on the surfacing that worked best. I believe for that dog park in specific, they used stone, getting very technical, but stone dust with the fines, the smaller particles removed, and that was to enable water to basically sink into the ground. So short answer is yes. That's an excellent example.
All right. Howard Albers asks, will the Park Authority ask the county BOS for the dog tag fees? If not, why not?
I think that we have, if I can just jump in, I think we have addressed this already, that this is one of the considerations and recommendations for this in the study, and is something that we will, since it is recommended in the study, we will think about pursuing that conversation as we go forward.
All right. Tom Criselt, what is the process to get the planned recommended changes implemented at each dog park, i.e. shade, water, benches? What steps do we need to take?
Basically, it's first us recognizing, and then doing a combination of outreach for seeing where we can identify funding to make those improvements.
Thank you.
If I can just jump in, I think that my understanding is that this would be a great opportunity to spend a little time looking at the section of the report that describes funding opportunities. I know Judy has mentioned Mastonbrook grants. That's certainly one option, as well as donor opportunities. The Park Foundation could speak with you about those. So there are opportunities to help improve sort of isolated or specific elements of dog parks, if that was something that a donor group or volunteer group was interested in contributing.
All right. Aaron Mays writes, could Fairfax County explore how neighboring jurisdictions are able to have water access for swimming in their parks and possibly leverage the same things they do to accommodate water resource protection in our county?
So the short answer is I can't speak knowledgeably about other jurisdictions, but I know places like Arlington, they have dog parks that have streams nearby. If I remember correctly, I don't know if the park that is on the stream is considered part of the dog park or just conveniently located nearby it. But I know per our recommendations, we do not recommend having dog parks in any way impact streams or stream valleys or wetlands.
Thank you. Our playgroup member writes, thank you for conducting this study and for holding this town hall. How did you come up with the dog park 86,000 ratio? If the previous commenter was correct, and there are 110 dog parks with 1.1 million people, that's 1 in 10,000. Seems like they could say we are good to go and don't need any more.
So if you look at dog parks in the county, well, first off, our needs assessment is done every 4 years, and we work with a consultant to come up with what is the right ratio per capita for facilities such as dog parks. But this study only used a population-based standard as one metric. We also looked at how equally distributed the dog parks are across the county, how they can be accessed. So there's all types of factors that contributed to not just meeting the needs assessment population number, but also making sure that we have equal access to the dog parks.
Thank you. All right, Mike T writes, thank you to all the staff at the Park Authority for all the hard work you've put into this report and all you do for the parks and our entire community. Mike, we appreciate that. There is a lot of hard work going on. Thank you. And Pam Vanderberg writes, thank you very much for conducting this forum. It was very helpful. Hopefully the county officials will look at funding in other jurisdictions for best practices and increase the number of parks to build. And then, well, here's one from Anonymous. Is there an opportunity for citizens, entities to donate towards specific equipment or upgrades to particular parks? And I would say, again, the Park Foundation is listening in tonight. And you could send via park mail at fairfaxcounty.gov any information and or a question about that, and we would be glad to pass that forward. No doubt about that. That appears to be the end of the comments, and I don't believe that there are any phone calls. So I think that at this point, I'm going to say that I want to thank you again for your participation. We have really, it's been really great to hear your thoughts and concerns. If you have questions, please visit us online or send us a note, again, at parkmail@fairfaxcounty.gov, or you can comment via the portal listed on the website via public input. Please be safe, be kind to each other, and good night. Bye-bye.